Welcome everybody to Crystal Kyle and Friends. Today we're going to be talking to Keith Edwards, whose channel just absolutely exploded. I was just talking to Mac backstage in the control room, and he pulled up the channel, and he's getting like 300, 400,000 views per video. And he checked, apparently he started like a year ago.
It was amazing. He's got over 1 million subs.
So Loki, I'm going to uninvite him because I had to work in the trenches to earn my subs. Like, what are you doing, bro? Over 1 million subs in a year? Like, what is this sorcery that is going on right now?
We can ask him that.
You know, I should actually ask him that. But excited to get to that. We'll talk to him in a little bit, but we got a lot of stuff before we get to that. So Trump delivered an Oval Office address last night, and people were speculating, oh my God, is he going to announce like a land war in Venezuela now? That was the speculation. And I got to be honest, when I first heard that speculation, I was like, that sounds plausible, right? Like, why the fuck else would you randomly call an Oval Office address? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out...
And you had people saying it really confidently. Like, Tucker Carlson was like, this is happening. Antiwar.com, which I trust more than Tucker Carlson. They do some real reporting. We're like, this is what our sources are saying. So, yeah, it was plausible.
Apparently, though, that was total horseshit. And he just wanted to babble about he's the greatest president of our time. So... what was your take on that speech? Because it was bizarre.
It was bizarre. You know, it didn't even feel like he wanted to babble. The whole thing was rushed. It was like, I guess we now know why he did it. But my vibe was like, someone forced you to do this. You didn't really want to. You're just like going through the motions here, sort of like angrily and frustratedly going through the motions. By the way, hold on to that thought
of somebody forced him to do it.
Yeah.
Hold on to it, because I'm going to come back to that.
Because and I knew there had been some reporting behind the scenes that his advisors were making a sort of like concerted, coordinated effort to get him to care about affordability because they see what a bad issue it is for them politically. And so, yeah, I mean, he goes through a bunch of absolute bullshit, blames everything on Biden, and then at the same time, it's like the economy's amazing and we're doing great, A++++, as he famously said previously. So the whole thing was extremely strange.
So the Daily Beast says that it was Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, that made him do it because that article came out. I thought it was New York Times. Apparently it was Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
And they she spilled the tea on everybody and everything and called Elon Musk a ketamine head drug addict and said that fucking JD Vance is an idiot conspiracy theorist and just everything you can imagine is throwing everybody right under the bus.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I didn't say that. And they go, here's audio of you saying that. And she's like, oh shit. So apparently she was like, you're doing this speech. And the Daily Beast is saying it was literally to just distract from her story, which had blown up colossally. So that actually kind of makes sense to me. And
that's interesting.
Trump is literally on a hot mic after the speech saying that Susie made me do it.
Really?
Yes, he's on a hot mic after
that was the energy was like, I don't want to be doing this. I mean, it was the fastest he's ever delivered a speech. There were no, he normally goes off prompter and says some funny thing about this or that or whatever. There was none of that. It was like, how fast can I read the speech and get the fuck out of here was the vibe. So
yeah,
and that does track.
Okay, so we have a piece of the speech to show you. Here he is talking about Somalians. Take a look.
Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it.
Desperate. So desperate. It just... by the way, I checked the numbers. I double-checked the numbers. The Pentagon can't account for 63% of their money.
Yeah.
That's we're talking about trillions of dollars that have just poof, gone.
I'll tell you, I find this offensive on so many levels.
Me too.
Because, number one, they want to paint all Somalis and really all immigrants, at least any brown and black immigrants, as inherently criminal and inherently fraudsters. And it's like, look at yourself.
Right.
You are the chief fraudster. Your whole administration is just like a smash and grab. Not to mention using your pardon powers. How many literal criminal fraudsters have you pardoned or commuted their sentences so that their victims of these Ponzi schemes will never see a single penny? You are raking in millions of dollars through your freaking crypto scheme.
Billions.
Yes, and through Jared Kushner and Don Jr. with these corrupt deals, and you have the nerve to talk about this fraud like you care about. I mean, it just, to me, it is so rich to see them pretending to we're for clean government now and we're all against this fraud. Please. The entire MO, the core ideology of this entire administration is graft. The core ideology is how much can we personally suck out of this government and benefit ourselves financially. The foreign policy is run that way. The domestic policy is run that way. So spare me.
So Don Jr. is effectively stealing 620 million tax dollars through this office called the Office of Strategic Investment, I think it's called. It was actually created by Biden in 2022 for to invest in chips and stuff like that to keep us competitive, right? Don Jr. Invested in this company, I think it's called Vulcan Earth, with his 1789 hedge fund or private equity or whatever it is. And now he's funding his own company he invested in with 620 million tax dollars. This is ludicrous. You are, all of the Somalian immigrants combined don't match the fraud of just Don Jr.
Yeah, that's
Never
right.
mind Trump himself.
Yeah.
Never mind Jared Kushner, with his $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, where he's allegedly slipping them classified information for that.
And this is just what we know about.
Right, exactly.
Look at all the sketchy insider trading that went on with the tariffs. Oh, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off. And oh, lo and behold, someone was in position to bet lots of money and make lots of money on these market moves that, how could that? Oh, I guess they were just lucky. Guess they were just lucky that they made these decisions. So, and Kristi Noem, she had funneled hundreds of millions of dollars from the DHS because they're flush with all this cash to some contractor that's affiliated with her alleged boyfriend Corey Lewandowski and her top aide. I mean, this is their whole administration is just about theft. That's their whole thing.
Pillage, loot. That's what it is.
Completely.
All right. So now let me go to Daniel Dale, the fact checker for CNN.
Okay.
He responded to the speech and he broke down quite a bit of it. Take a look.
Daniel, obviously we heard a lot from the president squeezed into those 15 minutes that were allotted to him. The White House makes that request to the networks. What did you hear in the president's remarks?
Caitlin, that was a fact check it, half asleep kind of presidential speech. So many of these claims have been debunked so many times. For example, the president said inflation is stopped. As Harry pointed out, it's not stopped. It's 3%. In fact, September, that 3% rate was the 5th consecutive month inflation had increased. The president also said that he inherited the worst inflation. He said some might say in the history of the country. Again, he inherited 3% inflation in January. Even the 9.1% peak of the Biden era in June 2022 was about a 40-year high, not a 48-year high, nowhere close to the all-time high of more than 23%. He spoke of cutting prescription drug prices by 400 to 600%. Those figures are mathematically impossible. If you cut it by more than 100%, people would get paid to get their medications, which of course is not happening. He said the price of eggs has fallen, which is true, but then he said everything else is falling rapidly. Everything else is not falling rapidly. In fact, even on groceries in particular, far more products have increased in price this term than have decreased. He said again, he secured $18 trillion in investment this year. That number is total fiction. Even the White House website uses a figure of $9.6 trillion. And my detailed review found that that figure is a wild exaggeration, accounting vague promises, vague, not even promises, and so on. He spoke of some states hitting $1.99 for gas. The lowest state average today is closer to $2.40. About 100 stations out of about 150,000 stations are below $2, according to the firm Gas Buddy. He also talked about immigration, made false claims there, saying that an army of 25 million people invaded the country under President Biden. Leaving aside this army rhetoric, the number was not even close to 25 million. It was under 11 million, and that counts millions of people who were rapidly expelled from the country. Crime was nowhere close to record high under President Biden. He has not settled, President Trump has not settled 8 wars. That list includes various wars, various situations that were not even wars, and some conflicts that have not actually been resolved. I could go on. I don't have time. So visit CNN.com, and we'll have a full list later.
The fact checkers are about to kill themselves.
We all are.
It is so. I've gone over the 8 wars thing 1,000 times. He literally stopped 0 wars, not 8 wars. It's offensive. He said the other day that tariffs brought in $20 trillion. $20 trillion. Where the official number, by the way, is $200 billion. He said, according to Dale, I didn't notice this in the speech, but he said inflation stopped. What we really have gotten.
It's insulting. It's genuinely insulting.
He's hit the nexus of Alzheimer's and postmodernism, where it's the peak of both of those things.
And here's the thing, you can get away with a lot of that. He can get away specifically with a lot of the shit in other areas.
Foreign policy,
on the war, on the wars thing. There's a bunch of people that are just, oh, he stopped a bunch of war. Okay, sure. I'm not going to look into the details. I don't know the details, but okay, maybe, sure, whatever. When you yourself
more.
are going to the stores. You are getting your own bills. You have access to your own bank account or lack thereof. You know whether you have a job and what the wage is and whether you feel like you could get another job. Like, people have their own experience of this. You are just not going to be gaslit the way that perhaps you could be in some other area. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like I said before, Susie Wiles, like, I buy that she was like, okay, I got to get myself out in the news. You need to do this. But it also just reeks of panic and desperation because they see the poll numbers sliding. They see, especially on economics, there was a new poll that came out that the landscape is incredibly dire. People are trusting Democrats way more, especially when you've got healthcare at the center of conversation and Republicans are terrible on healthcare. It's probably their worst issue. They're going, oh my God, you got to do something. You got to say something. But even if we look at their own metrics for, okay, what they wanted to accomplish, we're supposed to get this great manufacturing renaissance. We've had 9 straight months of manufacturing decline. He said in this speech, oh, native-born workers, they're getting all of the job creation. They're benefiting from all of the job creation, which, like, what are we even talking about? The only sector that grew last month was healthcare workers. But in any case, native-born worker unemployment rate, if that's all you care about, is also the highest it's been in years. So, you know, their theory that, oh, if we're just like horrific to immigrants and like rip them apart from their children, deport them to random places with no due process, and others of them leave, that's going to solve other problems of the economy for native-born workers, total and complete garbage. Has not worked out whatsoever.
That's exactly right. That's it. It's like his speeches are like a creative writing exercise. Like, how can we bullshit people into thinking everything is great? Try to cherry pick things, make things up. That's basically what it's like fiction. They're writing fiction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it is genuinely insulting.
Absolutely.
And look, I mean, we've had presidents in the past. Obama, yeah, I mean, he was able to get reelected, but you know, part of what weighed on him was they were trying to sell the economy as being better than people felt. Biden, same thing. They were trying to sell economy as being better than they felt. Like, when you get crosswise with people on something that they have their own personal experience with, it just comes off as insulting.
It's like, called their...
Yeah, he's out of touch. Like, you're building your ballroom, installing your weird plaques. You're focused on that. And meanwhile, I know what's going on in my life, and it's not good, and you could care less.
Yeah, it's called phenomenology in philosophy, which is like people's direct firsthand experience. And it's powerful. It's really hard to override that. You know, people will default back to that. But let's move on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So I don't know if you saw this, but there's an amazing video of the Minneapolis police chief, a guy named Brian O'Hara. He delivered a speech at a church in Minneapolis, basically slamming ICE and being like, fuck these people coming in here and like rounding up innocents and throwing out due process and making our jobs harder. So let's take a look, then we'll react.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Brian O'Hara, and I am the Minneapolis police chief. First off, thank you, Pastor Sergio, for inviting us back into this sacred space here. We know this has been a very, very difficult time for our communities here in the city. The fear that people are experiencing is real. As our mayor has said, it's been sad to drive down Lake Street and to see so many of our businesses either closed or empty. It's hard to see the impact that this is having on everyone in our community. It's especially personal to me, having been raised a Catholic, to be in a Christian church this morning as we are approaching Christmas. And I cannot help but think of what is happening in our city today and how that echoes with how outsiders have been treated for thousands of years, how Mary and Joseph themselves were considered outsiders and forced to stay in a barn. That's what we're getting ready to commemorate as Christians around the world, while all of this fear is happening right here in our town. So my goal, and our goal as the Minneapolis police, is to try and do what we can to reduce fear, to reduce anxiety, and to try and help provide for public safety and uphold human dignity.
So this is now multiple police departments that have on the record said, we have a problem with what these people are doing. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it in the past. There was another police chief, I forget where, but he was like, you're running people over, including our officers. You've hit our officers with cars.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are the criminals. You guys are the wild ones. You guys are causing the problems.
Right.
And I don't know, I mean, maybe you could tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I can't remember a single other time in my lifetime where there was this much tension between federal law enforcement and police at the local level. Can you think of one?
I can't. And I mean, I need to see that language being backed up with police being used to protect people who are having their rights violated and who are being assaulted. I mean, I need to see some of these ICE agents and other masked thugs, because it's not just ICE. We use that as a catch-all, but it's also CBP. It's also other federal masked agents. I need to see these thugs arrested when they're committing crimes. You know, that's where we need to be, because he's right. The lawlessness in the streets is coming directly from them. Like the chaos. You want law and order? Like, they are disrupting these communities and creating so much violence and tumult and upset. So I love the energy, and I want to see people actually held accountable that are committing these crimes, not just against immigrants, by the way, but against U.S. citizens as well. I think in Minneapolis, obviously the Somali community has been just like viciously targeted and aggressively targeted, the vast majority of whom are, in fact, American citizens. And now you have the Trump administration, you see this New York Times report that they want to move more aggressively to denaturalize people who are already citizens and strip them of their citizenship. That's the next phase of this. I mean, this is truly the Republican Party from the top has fully embraced this, you know, Nazi ideology, white nationalist, whites only, refugee policy, and it's coming from the highest echelons of the Republican Party and being made into official policy. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's nice to see the rhetoric. I want to see some actual accountability for the criminals here.
Yeah, and, you know, let's not forget what ICE has done, too, because, like, I know the news cycle moves really fast, but, like, this stuff is beyond unforgivable, and we keep saying we need to have, like, new Nuremberg trials, and people need to be locked up for real. Because the stuff we've seen, they tackled a 79-year-old car wash owner and hospitalized him.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to protect his legal immigrant workforce.
He was trying to get the paperwork to show. I remember, I've seen the video. It's all on video.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's
he was trying to get the paperwork to say, no, here's the information
Tackled
about these
his ass.
workers.
And then berated
broke his
him.
Ribs, I believe.
That's right. And I believe his arm, too. They deported a guy who was wrongfully imprisoned for 40 years. He got released with new evidence, and then they deported him. I mean, this is like beyond comic book villain type stuff. They deported a guy, you're going to love this one, for having cologne, and it's because the name of the cologne was opium. As if, you know, somebody who had actual opium would be walking around with a fucking label on it that says opium. Like, what are we, 6 years old? Like, what is this nonsense?
That goes along with, like, what we've learned about the training and recruitment standards over at ICE as well.
That's exactly
where they just
right.
take any old, like, criminal off the street, effectively.
And then you have 22 people dying in ICE custody. Every single one of those should be investigated. Literal criminals joining ICE, like you're alluding to.
You saw this pregnant lady they assaulted and were, like, had her belly down on the ground in the snow. I think that was in Minneapolis. I mean,
they dragged her. They dragged her. She's pregnant. They were dragging her along the ground by her wrist. This stuff is, like I said, these people, they were shooting a priest in the face with a pepper ball. They assaulted an 84-year-old married couple. They tear gassed a baby. Like, I'm sorry, these people, they got to be locked up. And I'm talking en masse at this point. Like, if you partook in this in any way, shape, or form, like, you got to be locked up. So that's where we are right now. But Crystal, let's move on to some more lighter stuff, let's say, here.
Okay.
So we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. She went on Alex Jones' show, which is kind of interesting right off the bat here because Marjorie Taylor Greene is clearly like pivoting and trying to take a different direction. And Alex Jones is still desperately trying to hang on to Trump's coattails as hard as he can. Like, please.
I only see the clips that float around on Twitter, but like he feels like he's kind of in existential crisis.
Oh, he's a mess. He's a mess. And part of the problem is, like so many people who we know in this business, he reads all the comments. He reads all the comments and he's lost his mind because now, and he talks about all the time about how like, my audience keeps telling me, why aren't you talking more about the Jews?
Oh, my God.
He's like, it's not the Jews. You guys see the Jews behind everything. It's not the Jews. So he's melting down because he's got, like, the Candace people and the Ian Carroll people and the Nick Fuentes people. not only is he being out conspiracy, he literally now is trying to do like, I'm going to debunk Candace's conspiracies. It's like, you're Alex Jones. Your whole brand was, I'm the conspiracy guy. I'm going to be the one out there the next day making some shit up and fucking running with it, being super confident.
She got too crazy for even Alex Jones.
Now he pulled a Tim Pool and he's like, we got to worry about the midterms. Let's focus on the midterms. It's like, fucking loyal little Republican operative bitch. Like, put on your little scooter hat, your helicopter hat, and hold your little lollipop and be like, yay, President Trump, we love you. Anyway, apparently I can't get those scooter hats out of my head. I just
You've
think
been
they're the
talking
funniest
about
thing
it
in
a
the
lot
world.
lately, yeah.
I said that to our son too. It's like, his hair was long, he looked like a boy. I was like, you look like you wear one of those little scooter hats right now. Anyway, I digress. So Marjorie Taylor Greene goes on Alex Jones' show, and Alex is having a hard time reining her in here from sort of being like, hey, sort of fuck this guy. I voted with him 98% of the time, but I'm not in a fucking cult, and maybe you guys are in a cult. Watch this, check it out.
I'm not in a cult. I am not in a cult. People that think they have to defend every single letter or word or sentence of President Trump, if you think that's what you have to do, you are in a cult. I am not in a cult. I elected President Trump. I fought for him and put him in the White House. And again, I'll remind everybody, voted with him 98% of the time. Put him in the White House because I believed in America First policies. I don't believe in fighting every foreign war. I do not believe in calling affordability crisis. I don't believe that's a hoax. I don't believe raping 14 and 16-year-olds is a hoax. And and President Trump, I went against him on bringing 600,000 Chinese foreign students, continuing that in
so
America.
Marjorie, in closing, you got to come back again soon.
H-1B visas, I don't support H-1B visas, and I don't support the state moratorium, AI state moratorium, taking away state rights on AI. I support state rights to regulate and make laws
No, I
on
agree.
AI.
Let me stop you. You've always been on fire. You've always got a great record, always gut level, know you're good. My spirit tells me that. But in closing, you got to come back soon.
I have a 100% voting record, a conservative voting record, Alex. People need to judge me by my actions and not by garbage
Believe
on
me,
social media.
Man, when Alex Jones is like, hold on now, let's calm down a little bit.
We got to close the show.
Well, let me
get out of
react to you
here.
here.
I love you, Marjorie, but anyway, we got to go.
It is so telling when the person who has a 100% conservative voting record and voted with Trump 98% of the time, when that person is like, I'm not in a cult, it's like, I don't know, the evidence you just gave would seem to indicate you are in a cult, right? But like, she's one of the better ones in that, hey, I buck them sometimes. But it's like, yeah, but that's only 2% of the time,
Well,
and we're supposed to pat you on the back.
I think what she
special.
needs to say is, "I am no longer in a cult." That would be the one. And look, she voted along with Thomas Massie and who's the other one?
Don Bacon.
I'm talking about the Venezuela war one. Was it Don Bacon? She voted for the. Which,
by the way, hilarious name. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a funny name. Anyway, she voted for the Venezuela War Powers Resolution. Appreciate that. The healthcare, though, one discharge petition she did not sign on to, which was interesting to me because she's been talking big game about affordability, healthcare, et cetera. And she didn't join on to that one, even though she had actually threatened to sign on to literally every discharge petition because she was like, I think they should all get votes. So in any case, I don't know where she really is. I don't know what game she's really playing. Right. But to me, she's just a sign of the times. Yes. Trump is not what he was. Yep. He's not what he was. And so someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene can come out and say all these things and go aggressively against him. And it's not the instant end for her. Previously, other, Republican, whether it's Liz Cheney or whoever, who came out strongly against him, it was over for them in the Republican Party like that, like right away. They're rhinos, they're traitors, they're Democrat, they're basically Democrats, etc. And they're gone. They're out of the movement. He no longer quite has that power. I mean, Thomas Massie, same thing. He's been going aggressively against Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie's still hanging in there as well. And, I'm not sure how his next primary will go. I think he'll have a tough race, but I think he's got a good chance at holding on there too. So, the whole thing is kind of coming unglued and they're all coming after each other. It's so messy. It barely has anything to do with policy. It's just like all kinds of personal grievance and jealousy and like, you don't hate this identity group as much as you should hate this other identity group. It's I mean, it's delightful. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it.
To be fair to Marjorie, she did bring up a bunch of policies there, but you're correct in that the Republican Party more broadly with the Civil War that's unfolding.
I'm not talking specifically about Marjorie here, because she does tend to frame hers, at least, in policy disagreements.
Yeah.
The rest of them seem to just be a bunch of messy bitches.
They're like, I hate Muslims more, I hate Jews more, and you said this, and you said that.
You're gay.
Yeah, well, they're all gay, let's be serious. But so I have to give you this one too, though, because Alex Jones, so you just saw him desperately trying to like almost clean up for Trump there and like reel in Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
He thinks he has a brilliant idea as to how to bring Trump back from the political dead and that 35% approval rating. Take a look at this.
I think Trump maybe once every 2 weeks, goes to a key battleground, helps Mike Lindell or whatever. No, he needs to be doing addresses. He cares about 60 Minutes. He cares about stuff with no viewers. He cares about Jimmy Kimmel with no viewers. He went on Elon Musk's show and had, 1 billion listeners. He goes on your show. It's exciting. 100 million viewers. He needs to be flooding the zone, going back on all the big shows, going on Joe Rogan, going on those programs and talking directly to the people and not then going to CBS and complaining that they edited it. What do you think? It's like he's like the frog that's swimming across the river, and the scorpion says, give me a ride. He goes, well, you're going to sting me to death. He goes, no, I won't. He takes him across. The scorpion stings him. He's dying. He says, why'd you do that? He goes, I'm a scorpion. It's like Trump's snake story. Why is he taking the beautiful snake up to his breast? Trump, you're 79. I respect you. You're way smarter in many ways. But let me explain. Barron can explain it. And Steve's old like me, but he knows the numbers. There are medium-sized shows with more viewers than CNN. Stop giving them power. They're dead. Let the dead bury the dead. Dust off your feet. Stop it. Engage with us. Talk directly to us. Write to us and say, I need you, and it's over. That is the Holy Grail. That is the Excalibur. That is the Spear of Destiny. That is what he must do. It all must be directly to us. I need you. I need you. The minute he does that, nothing but victory.
What I need, Trump, is you to come directly on my show and talk to my people, because that's what I need for my ratings and my career to be all right. But what I'm going to say is this is going to save you, and you're only going to go up when you do that. This is not an optics problem, Alex. That's what they're not getting.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with optics. This has nothing to do with strategy. This is substantive. This motherfucker, unemployment is going up, inflation is going up, the trade war backfired colossally, we're alienated and isolated from the rest of the world, they hate us, we hate them, wages are stagnant, people are struggling, the economy is in the shitter, housing prices are now more expensive than they've ever been, ever. Even at the peak of right before the subprime mortgage crisis.
And you're covering up the Epstein files to boot.
And you're covering up the Epstein files. And you're fucking building the Epstein Memorial Ballroom and demolishing the East Wing of the White House. And you just fucking tap dance on Rob Reiner's grave, where even a bunch of Republicans were like, what are you doing? He was killed by his own son. Like, he said nice things about Charlie after he died. What is this?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, there is no, like, with his one weird trick. No, it's like, he needs to be a different person with a different set of values and different policies in order to get out of this. Right? Like, it's not just going to turn around. I don't foresee it turning around. And he's not even a year in.
And even when Trump was, like, riding comparatively high, he still has never translated to, like, an off-year or midterm election when he's not on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So, you had the RNC chief, like, on hot mic saying, yeah, we're basically screwed. Like, it's inevitable. We're going to be defeated in the midterm election. So, I thought it was really noteworthy. There was some polling that came out that showed, number one, that Republicans are still overwhelmingly with Trump. There has been some erosion there. But if you dig down one layer deeper and you ask them, do you love this guy, or are you just kind of good with him? The number that has that strong support, that has diminished.
Yep.
And that has always been his superpower, that these people loved him. They believed him no matter what. They were with him. He could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and they wouldn't abandon him. He's losing that grip on his base. And at the same time, they ask people, okay, do you see yourself more as a MAGA Republican or a traditional Republican? And those numbers have completely flipped. The hallmark of the Trump era is more and more and more Republicans saying, I am a MAGA Republican. Now you have that number on the decline, and the numbers say, no, I'm more of a traditional Republican, on the rise. And I'm not sure if it's actually a majority now, 50, but it was
50.
very close.
It's exactly 50-50 now.
I mean, that is a very significant sea change in people's own self-conception. And that's why Marjorie gets away with saying, look, I'm not in a cult. People are wanting to, they're opening their eyes and wanting to also not feel like they're just in the cult of Trump, especially when he's, doing things that are just completely unhinged, which he's always done. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because he's old, it's because the economy's bad, it's because of all of those things. He's taken all these hits to the brand, but it just doesn't quite land. He doesn't get away with it quite the way that he used to.
And by the way, old school Alex Jones would at least be like getting into details and specifics about who's steering the ship to get us into another illegal and offensive war against Venezuela and do regime change and steal the oil and all that stuff. He very famously said this about the Iraq War. The Iraq War is for the oil, for example, right?
Yeah.
Went after Bush, went after Cheney. That was old school Alex Jones. And of course, he shifted to the right. Now he's solidly on the right. Now he's just a Republican operative and a hack. He's the most insider, pro-establishment person that there is. And now there's nothing even about. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he supports what's happening in Venezuela. In the same way, by the way, that Nick Fuentes, that other guy who pretends like he's so anti-establishment, he supports what's going on with us in Venezuela. He likes the war. He likes the idea of corporations stealing the oil. I mean, Trump came out the other day, said the most deranged shit, like that's our land and that's our oil. Like, what the fuck are you talking? They literally, Stephen Miller said something like that. It literally got community noted on Twitter. I'll actually read it for everybody later. But for this guy who branded himself as the conspiracy guy and the anti-establishment guy to just sit back and watch Trump go full George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and neocon, literally lying to get us into another regime change war. That is exactly, I mean, that's why Jon Stewart's thing was brilliant, comparing Venezuela to Iraq. And here he is fucking cheerleading it and saying, just go on Joe Rogan, everything will be all right, do that. It's like, what happened? What a fucking loser.
Yeah.
What a loser.
And selling the whole government to a bunch of tech oligarchs and like, you know, Alex Karp and Palantir and like, oh, got nothing to say about that. It's like,
what would
who are you even?
What would Alex Jones be saying if Peter Thiel was snuggled up to a Democratic president?
To Joe Biden
oh
or
my
Barack
God,
Obama
he would be all over.
my God,
this guy's over here talking about the Antichrist, but he actually is the Antichrist. And look, he's got this mass buying
Smells
technology.
like sulfur, right?
Instead, I think Alex Jones may have met Peter Thiel, and that sort of defanged him. So now, like, you know, Tim Dillon is outflanking Alex Jones on like the tech conspiracy stuff. I mean, insane. It's insane. It's insane. Hey guys, we had Keith Edwards on the show today. Super exciting stuff. He's blowing up on YouTube. Had an awesome conversation. You don't want to miss it. Sign up on Substack below to see the entire thing.